What is it that you like about Diablo? It's just fun. So this is really my first Diablo game. I played a little bit of 3 beforehand, but not a whole lot. And I remember when Diablo IV first came out, a lot of people were talking about it, and it seemed like you just like couldn't get away from it. I remember going like out to bars and stuff and like just overhearing people talk about it, and it's just like, oh man, what is this game? And it seemed really, really popular, and I didn't know really anything about it. I had barely played 3. And so I was like, I'm gonna hold off. Like, I don't know. Everybody's talking about it, but we'll see. Where's it gonna be in a couple of months? We'll figure it out. So a couple of months go by, and I think about it, and the game's on sale, and I'm like, you know what? Fine, I'll pick it up. Other friends had already had it. This was, pre-season 1. I could still catch up. I could still kind of, participate in everything and kind of, figure it out. And got it and started playing it. And it just, something about it just was like, oh, wow, this is a lot of fun. Like, this is awesome. And I don't know if it was the fact of just being like my first ever ARPG. So the whole, the genre as a whole was new to me. I don't know if it was like the setting was cool. It's like pretty like horror adjacent, like, and I really like that. I kind of like that aesthetic. I like that vibe, that feeling. It could have been just like the way the classes are set up. Like it feels very, like video gamey, like very like an RPG of, oh yeah, you're gonna pick this class and then you get like these abilities and whatever, and the way that you like level up and like your skills and the way that like your skills are based off of a certain attribute or whatever. I think is like just really cool, and like that is like fun to kind of figure out like that part of it. And that's like a joke we have too, and I'm sure a lot of people do, but like we just call Diablo 4 is like the item management simulator. You kind of have to like figure out, all right, cool, well, which is like the best character to be. And so pre-season 1, I was kind of thinking like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to like pick a character. I'm going to pick one that looks cool, and we'll just figure it out. And so I'm like going through, and whatever, playing, and I pick a rogue. And it's awesome, and I'm like trying to like read stats and like put stuff together and like make my own build, which was like a ton of fun. And like I remember like getting through the campaign, and like it took me forever to get through the campaign. Like I'm feeling like weeks and weeks and weeks to get through it. And by then, you hit level 50 and you're like, oh man, awesome. Like I can't believe I like finally made it to level 50. Like this is crazy. And then they're like, oh wait, no, you actually go up to level 100. You're like, what? Like, oh my God, how can that be? I just finished the campaign. What do you do? And it turns out that there's this whole end game of like activities to do and stuff. And I had no idea pre-season 1. And so just me and my buddy who were playing it is we would just, log on, kill demons, just have a good time. And we were like, oh man, like what are we supposed to do? Like what's the objective? And to us, it was just, all right, cool. Well, we just want to hit like max level. We just want to like beat the campaign and, hit max level and call it a day. I had no idea about like different world tiers. I had no idea about like what you should be running and like how to even like XP farm and whatever, and we're like looking at gear. And everything's dropping at the same level. And we're like, oh, how come all this gear is all the same level and it's giving the same like protection or whatever? And then there's, stats underneath it or whatever. And we're like, oh, those stats are like kind of whatever. We don't need to like, actually like pay attention to that. So we just kind of just kept going, and like it was awesome. So then I remember talking to a coworker about it, and he was like, oh yeah, like I play Diablo, like I love Diablo, and like all these games, all the Diablo games are great, and this, that, and the other. And, this is kind of like how I'm doing, and this is the kind of build, like what kind of build are you using? And I remember thinking, I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, I'm a rogue. And he's like, yeah, but like what build are you using? And I'm like, I have no idea what that means. I just like am doing this, and like I do this, and like I remember it was like I was trying to like inflict like vulnerable or something, because something like, you know, in a description scaled off of that or something. I don't know. And I was like, oh no, like I like inflict vulnerable and like do this stuff. He's like, cool, but like, what's like your main skill? You know, like what's your thing? And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So then he kind of explained to me how it all works and, you know, what you're supposed to do and kind of like a different way to play the game, you know? And, you know, involving the stats and like how you're actually like all the different things that are involved in the game. And he goes, oh no, go to this website, pick a build here, follow this build guide. You know, it just basically tells you exactly where to put all your points. And then you just kind of like annihilate stuff. And I said, okay. So I ended up doing that. And then in time for season 1, preseason was just a wash. And I was like, all right, cool. Well, I'm not going back to change any of this. I'm just going to, moving forward, I'll do this. So season 1 comes out, which was the season of blood, I'm pretty sure. No, season of the malignant. I don't know. And I remember like getting like into it for that, and like I can't remember what class I picked. I don't think I picked rogue again. That might have been necromancer. I don't know. And I remember like actually starting to like look for the gear and look for like certain, you know, roles of certain stats and stuff, and it just like completely opened up the game and like completely changed what I had like even thought the game was. And I was like, oh man, like this is like how you're supposed to level. And I go, how am I going to get to level 100? Like I'll never make it to level 100, you know, within the season, within like the 3 months or whatever the season was, 4 months. And so I was playing it with my coworker, and he was kind of walking me through everything on how to like do everything. And we're just like flying through levels, like, you know, left and right. And we're like getting up there. He's like, oh yeah, skip the campaign. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. We're going to run this dungeon and we're going to do this. And don't forget to have, you know, this potion on and this, that, and the other. And it was just like crazy, just totally different experience. And I don't know, it really just became a lot more fun for me. Just like that, like looking for, you know, certain aspects, whatever. And it's like, that's the addictive part, you know, and that's like kind of what you keep coming back for. And so what kind of inspired me, I guess, to make this video a little bit is I just finished watching Solo Leveling and finally caught up, and new episodes are still coming out of it. And just watching that story and kind of seeing how, you know, it plays out kind of like a video game, but like seeing like, oh, you gotta, you know, put your points into, you know, these attributes, and then you get like these weapons that do, you know, this, and they can do this buff, or they do this debuff, or, you know, whatever. And it's just like, oh man, that sounds so cool. Like, why isn't there a game like that? Like, what kind of game can you play that's, you know, kind of like that? And it's so funny that I've been playing Diablo, and the new season, you know, didn't just come out, but came out recently. And I'm like thinking about that and thinking as I'm like playing through that, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of just like this. Like, this is that game that I wanted. Like, this is the game that like I'm trying to kind of find and play. So yeah, so that was just kind of, you know, what I thought. You know, Diablo has come a long way from that preseason a little bit when I played it, but it's like those core memories, like those like original memories are like what kind of locked me into this thing, you know, really like kept me here. And it's been, you know, I've played most of the seasons through. I think I kind of made it partway through season 3. Season 4, I don't think I played a whole lot. Season 5, I didn't do any of. Came back for 6 when the expansion launched. And then here we are in 7. And it's like, it's a pretty good time. They've definitely changed a lot. But yeah, I think there needed to be like that little bit of a break in there to kind of really like appreciate, you know, what was going on. And I just really enjoyed the game, and I really enjoyed coming back to it after a while. And yeah, I just thought I think it's a pretty good time, and I'm liking it. So yeah, I just wanted to make this little video talking about it, you know, just sharing my thoughts on it, you know, just so I remember them. All right.